Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is Explanation of Battle Through the Heavens episode number 224 based on novel. So let's start. Hun Huzi, is teacher acquainted with him? Yarrow Laro's reaction had startled Xiao Yang. His eyes scanned the black-clothed middle-aged man in the sky as he gently frowned. It was another person from the Hun clan. These people always appeared in such a mysterious fashion. Do you still recall the small towers incident back then? The person from the Hun clan who had hid within the small pill tower, and in the end, betrayed and wounded his teacher before eventually escaping. Yarrow Laro's deep voice contained an endless hatred. That person is Hun Huzi. Xiao Yang's heart shook as he exclaimed. Aye. Yarrow Laro slowly nodded. His eyes observed Hun Huzi in the sky as he continued in an ice-cold voice. This person has an extremely high position within the Hun clan. Even Hun Mie Sheng cannot compare to him. Unexpectedly, even he has been attracted by the Yarrow clan's medicinal ceremony. Hun Huzi is relatively important to the Hun clan. If I am not mistaken, he should be the mastermind behind the evil scheme of collecting so many souls. If we can eliminate him, it would be equivalent to breaking an arm of the Hun clan. Xiao Yang narrowed his eyes upon hearing this information. A chill flashed through his eyes. Xiao Yang was only too happy to eliminate the Hun clan. If he found the opportunity, he would try to see if he could kill this Hun Huzi. However, you should not be careless. This Hun Huzi has a great attainment in terms of medicine refinement. Otherwise, he would not have been selected by the chief of the small pill tower back then as a disciple. Adding so many years of training, his alchemy skills have probably already reached a profound and unfathomable level, Yarrow Laro softly informed Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang nodded. If one were to describe someone who could attain such a position within the clan as a mediocre person, even a little child would not believe this description. Xiao Yang would naturally not underestimate his opponent. Hun Huzi, why has this fellow come? Our Yarrow clan did not invite him. The Hall of Souls has been capturing souls for so many years. It has even ruthlessly attacked alchemists and snatched their souls. Hun Huzi is definitely involved in that matter. We cannot allow such a person to participate in our Yarrow clan's medicinal ceremony. The appearance of Hun Huzi immediately attracted the intense reaction from many elders of the Yarrow clan. Many furious gazes were thrown toward Hun Huzi as stern cries rang out. The clan head of the Yarrow clan in the leader's seat and Elder Wanhua exchanged glances with each other. They discovered that the both of them were frowning. Clearly, Hun Huzi coming uninvited had exceeded their expectations. The Yarrow clan had always maintained a distance with the Hun clan. This ancient clan was much older than them. Regardless of what kind of changes the other ancient clans underwent during the past thousands of years, only the Hun clan continued to remain mysterious and strange. The frightening strength it occasionally displayed caused one to involuntarily feel fear. Adding the mysterious disappearance of the Ling clan and the Shi clan, the Yarrow clan, Lei clan, and Yang clan began to act more cautiously with the Hun and Jiyu clans. Hence, their hearts felt some displeasure when they saw that Hun Huzi had actually come uninvited. However, it was fortunate that they clearly understood the current situation. Hence, their faces still retained a smile as hosts. Haha, looks like the friends from the Yarrow clan do not seem to welcome me. This does not seem to match the reputation of liking to entertain guests. Hun Huzi placed both of his hands behind him as he stood in the sky. His eyes shifted to Yarrow Dan as he faintly laughed. Hun Huzi, my Yarrow clan did not invite you. Moreover, the current Hun clan and Jiyu clan do not have a relationship with the other ancient clans. These actions of yours are not like before. It might even deepen the doubt we feel for the Hun clan. Elder Wanhua replied in a deep voice. It is precisely because we are unafraid of you deepening your doubt that I have come today. Hun Huzi smiled and said, this medicinal ceremony is considered the greatest alchemist gathering on the continent. Haha, I am also interested in the position of the top alchemist on the continent. If Elder Wanhua has the qualification to give me this qualification, I will leave immediately. Arrogant. Hun Huzi's words immediately caused some elders in the Yarrow clan to furiously cry out. Haha, my Yarrow clan is unqualified to give you the name of the top alchemist on the continent. The only thing one can rely on to obtain this name is one's own alchemist skill. Yarrow Dan faintly laughed and said. Since you are so interested in the name of the top alchemist on the continent, you should remain here. Our Yarrow clan is not a clan that slights its guests. As long as you obey the rules of my Yarrow clan, you are the guest of the clan. Otherwise, even if you are the chief alchemist of the Hun clan, I will perhaps have to intervene and restrain you. A sharp murderous intent flashed across Yarrow Dan's elderly face when he spoke until this point. The might of a clan head caused one to quietly feel awed. Clan head, isn't this a little inappropriate? The surrounding elders of the Yarrow clan were startled when they heard that Yarrow Dan would allow this Hun Huzi to remain behind. The medicinal ceremony is the grandest activity within our Yarrow clan. We cannot simply expel our guest in front of so many people without a reason. That would lead to others thinking that our Yarrow clan is overbearing. Although we must take precaution against the Hun clan, there are currently many people gathered within this Yarrow realm. Don't tell me that someone would dare to try something inappropriate. Yarrow Dan waved his hand and calmly said. The old me will monitor him closely. If there is anything wrong, this elderly self will personally attack and kill him. Hearing Yarrow Dan's insistence, everyone could only nod as a reply. Clan head Yarrow Dan is really magnanimous, Hun Huzi softly laughed. The corner of his mouth was curled as a strange smile swiftly flashed within his eyes. His body moved and he appeared on a stone chair in front of many pairs of eyes. This position was coincidentally a short distance away from Yarrow Laro and Xiao Yang. Yarrow Chen, you have accepted a good disciple. Even though I have remained deep within the Hun realm, your disciple's name is still extremely well known. Hun Huzi's eyes shifted to a stone chair before landing on Yarrow Laro. A strange smile surfaced on the corner of his mouth as he spoke. Who can compare with Hun Huzi, who has betrayed his teacher and destroyed his ancestor, in terms of being infamous? Yarrow Laro smiled and shook his head as he replied. I have been a member of the Hun clan since I was born and possess the bloodline of the Hun clan. The matter of destroying my ancestor has nothing to do with me. As for betraying my teacher, I never thought of that old fool as my teacher. Hun Huzi merely shook his head in a somewhat serious fashion after listening to Yarrow Laro's ridicule. Both of his eyes narrowed into a dangerous arc. He casually said, Yarrow Chen, you should actually be thanking me. If you had not caught my eye back then since I wanted you to work for my Hun clan, your soul would have long since been destroyed. How would you have found the time to wait for your disciple to rescue you? But it doesn't matter. Since you have escaped, all we need to do is recapture you. At that time the whatever Sky Mansion Alliance will finally understand just how naive it is. Yarrow Laro's expression became gloomy after hearing these words. Xiao Yang's expression by the side did not change. He softly laughed but did not speak. With a random wave of his sleeve, the Northern King beside him suddenly shot forward. It appeared beside Hun Huzi in a flash. A sharp kick ruthlessly slammed toward Hun Huzi like a large sharp blade. The attack, which had suddenly arrived, startled even Hun Huzi for an instant. He had not expected Xiao Yang to be so ruthless. Xiao Yang did not utter a single word before simply attacking, but Hun Huzi was not an ordinary person. He immediately let out a cold snort. The space surrounding him became distorted as his figure strangely disappeared. The next time he appeared, he was on a stone chair in the distance. Bang! The Northern King's kick smashed the stone table and chair into dust. After which, it stopped moving. Its eyes were indifferent as it glanced at Hun Huzi before returning to Xiao Yang's side and standing as still as a statue. Xiao Yang held a jade cup in his hand while a pretty female servant obediently walked forward to fill it with a fragrant medicinal wine made by the Yarrow clan. He took a gently sip and suddenly laughed. Cold individuals who have betrayed their teachers should stay far away from me. What a great Xiao Yang. A smile surfaced on Hu Huzi's face as he sat in the stone chair some distance away. His smile was dense and bone-chilling. A frightening energy fluctuation slowly spread from his body as he stared at Xiao Yang, causing the expressions of many elders from the Yarrow clan to change. Hun Huzi, today is the great ceremony of our Yarrow clan. Fighting is forbidden. Those who break the rules will be expelled from the Yarrow realm. Yarrow Dan, who was sitting in the leader's seat, took a passive attitude as the two dealt with their conflict. He lifted his head and spoke in a faint voice at this moment. Since clan head Yarrow Dan has opened his mouth, I will naturally listen. The smile on Hun Huzi's dense face hardened when he heard this command before it immediately widened. However, the cold glow within his eyes became denser. This old fellow had chosen not to speak when Xiao Yang had attacked. He had instead chosen to step forward and display his impartiality when Hun Huzi retaliated. This was clearly being biased against him in front of so many people. What a great Yarrow clan, Hun Huzi coldly laughed in his heart. The expression in his eyes also became stranger. Yarrow Dan ignored Hun Huzi's expression. His eyes slowly swept around him. His eyes paused as they swept over Xiao Yang, after which an indifferent voice slowly spread. It was just like thunder as it echoed around the mountain top. It is time. Let the medicinal ceremony begin. The Yarrow clan specialized in alchemy, possessing the largest alchemist organization in the world. Although the Yarrow clan would feel some pride in their hearts when dealing with the alchemists from the Central Plains, it must be said that they did indeed have the ability to back up this pride. Perhaps it was due to their bloodline, but it was extremely easy for those in the Yarrow clan to learn how to refine medicinal pills. Moreover, the clan did not lack individuals with outstanding training talent. Hence, it might be true that the Yarrow clan did not have a large number of alchemists with skills equivalent to those alchemist grandmasters quite famous in the Central Plains, but it was not hard to find outstanding individuals within their clan either. Since they were in possession of such capital, they would inevitably feel pride when compared to other alchemists. Of course, this was merely describing the middle level among the alchemist tier. The Yarrow clan did not hold much of an advantage in terms of the true alchemists that stood at the top of all alchemists. After all, their bloodline strength might allow them to have an easy time learning alchemist skills, but it was impossible to rely on to reach the peak of the alchemist world. At times, such talent might even become an obstruction to reaching the peak level. This could perhaps be considered a slight disadvantage of the bloodline strength. All alchemists were divided from Tier 1 to Tier 9. Tier 1 was the lowest level while Tier 9 was the highest. Those Tier 9 alchemist gurus were further divided into 3 levels: the Treasure Pill Guru, Mysterious Pill Guru, and Golden Pill Guru. The current Xiao Yang had already reached the Treasure Pill Guru level after having refined a Tier 9 treasure pill back then. Of course, this had not been verified by any organizations. At this level, a faction could no longer help him verify his tier because those of his tier were already at the peak of the alchemist world. A Mysterious Pill Guru was considered the peak of the alchemist world on this continent. There was hardly any of them. It had been nearly 1,000 years since someone had become a Golden Pill Guru, so no one was able to refine a Tier 9 Golden Pill. Above the Golden Pill Guru was the legendary DI class. DI was the ultimate and no one could surpass it. For most of those present, the first part of the medicinal ceremony was entertaining to watch. The younger generation of the Yarrow clan did indeed possess a talent that would cause an ordinary alchemist to envy. Those who had stepped onto the stage were Tier 6 or even higher tiered alchemists. Many cauldrons rose, giving the square an extremely spectacular appearance. Of course, from the perspective of those like Xiao Yang, a pill refinement of this level was just like a group of adults watching some small children fight. There was nothing for them to observe. Hence, they merely shut their eyes and recuperated while there was an uproar over the appearances of many medicinal pills. The first part of the medicinal ceremony lasted for a couple of days. Only then did it come to an end. Fortunately, those present were not ordinary individuals. Many did not even shift their bodies during these few days. Xiao Yang's eyelids slowly opened just before the first portion of the medicinal ceremony came to an end. He glanced over the young individuals from the Yarrow clan and slightly nodded. After a few days of observation, he had seen just how strong the Yarrow clan was. Many of their young possessed extremely great talent. If they were lucky, they would be able to gain a seat within the alchemist world in the future. Moreover, by possessing such outstanding new blood, the Yarrow clan would continuously prosper. Of course, there was naturally a limit to this. If the Yarrow clan did not produce an elite DI following the flow of time, their bloodline strength would gradually be exhausted like the Xiao clan. At that time, the Yarrow clan would likely be no different than an ordinary clan. Even though that time would come, it was still in the distant future. Thinking of such things now would be worrying for no reason. While observing event over the last few days, Xiao Yang had also seen some familiar figures. That Yarrow Xingji, who had given Xiao Yang the invitation for the medicinal ceremony, had been discovered by Xiao Yang. Currently, Yarrow Xingji's alchemist skills had grown after the last few years of training. He had squeezed into the top 5 during this medicinal ceremony, which was quite a good result. That champion position had been obtained by that man called Yarrow Tian, whom Xiao Yang had met outside the demonic flame realm back then. He should be the most outstanding person among the younger generation of the Yarrow clan. The medicinal pill he had refined had actually attracted a 9-colored pill lightning, which surpassed everyone else. Even some of the elders within the Yarrow clan smiled upon seeing the colors. However, when their eyes unintentionally landed on Xiao Yang, who was recuperating with his eyes shut beside Yarrow Lao, the smile on their faces would quickly disappear before turning into melancholy. They had long since heard that Xiao Yang was already able to refine a Tier 9 medicinal pill. The pill lightning he had attracted was the Black Demon Lightning. Yarrow Tian's 9-colored pill lightning paled in comparison to him. The atmosphere of this stadium did not quiet down after the competition between the younger generation of the Yarrow clan was completed. Instead, it suddenly overflowed with excitement. Those many boiling eyes leaped over the stadium and finally landed on those stone chairs. They understood that the main event of the medicinal ceremony was these important individuals standing at the peak of the alchemist world. Ha ha, it is finally about to begin. Yarrow Lao slowly opened his eyes at this moment. He sensed the temperature of the stadium suddenly rise before laughing. Xiao Yang also grinned. His hand gently touched the jade cup. After observing things for a couple of days, he had unknowingly felt a little itch in his hands. Other than you, those participating in the main event will likely be Hun Huzi, Old Man Shen Nong, and Elder Wanhua. These 3 individuals are all extraordinary people. In terms of experience, even I am greatly lacking compared to them. Yarrow Lao said. Yarrow Dan is not participating? Xiao Yang glanced at Yarrow Dan in the leader's seat and asked. Being the head of a clan, he must naturally wear a pride that belongs with his title. Yarrow Lao laughed. He immediately spoke in a grave manner. However, his alchemist skills are not any weaker than the 4 of you. The clan head of the Yarrow clan is the leader of the biggest organization in the alchemist world. It would be impossible for him to convince others if he did not have some ability. Xiao Yang laughed. He naturally understood Yarrow Larrow's meaning. Moreover, regardless of how arrogant he was, he would not carelessly underestimate a frightening expert whose strength had reached that of a 7-star dosheng. While Xiao Yang and Yarrow Larrow were softly chatting, Yarrow Dan, who sat in the leader's seat, slowly stood up. At this moment, all the eyes present gathered onto him. Ha ha, the appetizer is over. It is finally time for the main event. This elderly self understands what everyone is thinking. Yarrow Dan smiled faintly and continued as everyone focused on him. There will be 4 people competing in this medicinal ceremony. I will not talk anymore about these 4 individuals. I'm sure that everyone here knows them. The final victor among them will gain the title of the top alchemist of the continent. I think that no one will object to the victor taking that title. The 4 of you, please take the stage. Ha ha, clan head Yarrow Dan is really forthright. I have long heard that the medicinal ceremony is the top alchemist gathering across the Dochi continent. The reason I have come here today is to challenge everyone. My Han clan is a little interested in this title as the top alchemist of the continent. Therefore, I wish to come here and take it. Han Hu's figure took the lead as he appeared in the air after Yarrow Dan's voice sounded. His calm laughter was provoking. The Yarrow clan is a clan which refines medicine. It is perhaps better for this title to remain in the Yarrow clan. Elder Wanhua coldly snorted. His body flashed and appeared in the air. He did not give in as he faced Han Huzi. Cheers rose from the surroundings the moment Elder Wanhua appeared. This was the home ground of the Yarrow clan. Naturally, they were unwilling to see someone from the Han clan snatch away this unusually grand title. Although this elderly self does not have much interest in such vanity, allowing the title of the top alchemist on the continent to land on you is a great insult to the alchemists from my generation. Old man Shen Nong stepped into the air. The walking stick formed by medicinal grass shook in his hand, causing the jade bottles to collide and emit a clear sound. He floated in the air. His tone was calm, but it was obvious that he greatly disliked Han Huzi. After all, the Han clan had an extremely terrible reputation among alchemists. Elder Wanhua, Han Huzi, Old Man Shen Nong, these 3 are definitely giants within the current alchemist world. This is really going to be an exciting show during this face-off. The stadium immediately turned into an uproar as everyone looked at the 3 individuals in the sky. Countless pairs of alchemist eyes were filled with excitement. The level that the 3 people above them had reached was something that they had been pursuing all their life. Han Huzi glanced at Elder Wanhua and Elder Shen Nong before smiling. He placed both of his hands behind him. The demeanor of a guru was displayed without a doubt. If one did not discuss character, the attainment of Han Huzi in terms of alchemist skills was indeed something that others would look up to. 3 of them have already appeared. Who is the last person? Countless pairs of eyes rotated over the 3 figures, but they quickly slid away. After which, they paused on a black-clothed young man in a stone chair. Xiao Yang smiled as he stood up in front of those many pairs of eyes. His body shook as an after-image appeared. His body also appeared in the sky as a clear laugh spread. I have long since heard that Elder Han Huzi has stolen skills from the Pill Tower. Now the Pill Tower is also a member of the Sky Mansion. Being someone from the Sky Mansion, Xiao Yang wishes to represent the Pill Tower in challenging Elder Han Huzi. Please try your best to teach me a lesson. Means that the Yarrow clan was not full of skilled individuals, but they are still quite common. Many people quietly started to sweat after hearing Xiao Yang's clear laughter. His words were relatively awful. It seemed that the Sky Mansion Alliance and the Han clan did indeed resent each other. What razor-sharp tongue, if it is about challenging me, even your teacher Yarrow Chen does not possess the qualifications. Han Huzi faintly laughed, but his face did not reveal the slightest anger because of Xiao Yang's words. It seemed that he boasted an extremely good temperament. However, the eyes he used to look at Xiao Yang were densely cold. There was a vague murderous intent surging in them. Teacher said that I should be able to deal with you. Hence, there is no need for him to intervene. Xiao Yang fondled his chin. The smile on his face was quite brilliant. Nevertheless, the words he spoke clearly did not give Han Huzi any face. Ha ha, in that case, I am rather curious, Han Huzi softly laughed. After which, he ceased uttering any unnecessary words. With a wave of his sleeve, a black flame erupted from his body in all direction. It formed a 1,000-foot-large black fire cauldron in the sky in front of him. There was a strange devouring power vaguely emitted from the fire cauldron. Nihility devouring flame? Xiao Yang, Elder Wanhua, and Old Man Shenlong suddenly focused their eyes. They cried out in deep voices as they looked at the fire cauldron being formed by the black flame. It is unexpected that such a heavenly flame has actually landed in the hands of the Han clan. Old Man Shenlong frowned. His eyes were filled with a grave expression as he looked at the black fire cauldron. Being one of the elders within the alchemist world, he was clearly aware of the might of the nihility devouring flame. Summon the heavenly flames within your bodies. My nihility devouring flame craves their taste. Hun Huzi smiled as he looked at Xiao Yang and the other two and laughed. It is merely the seed flame of the nihility devouring flame, yet you actually act so domineering? Xiao Yang softly laughed. Although the feeling that the nihility devouring flame within Hun Huzi gave him was far stronger than that of the chief of the Hall of Souls, it was still unable to reach the frightening level of the true devouring flame. Clearly, the nihility devouring flame in this person's hand was also a seed flame. Hun Huzi narrowed his eyes slightly upon hearing Xiao Yang's tone. He had not expected Xiao Yang to be able to identify the flame this quickly. However, he immediately laughed. Xiao Yang was able to recognize his nihility devouring flame, but Xiao Yang was unaware that his nihility devouring flame was not an ordinary seed flame. The nihility devouring flame was extremely mysterious. Only a few rare individuals were even aware that the seed flames of the nihility devouring flame could be separated into different levels. Among the many ordinary seed flames were two types of mysterious seed flames. They were called the heaven and earth seed flames. The nihility devouring flame in his hand was the earth seed flame. This so-called earth seed flame could be considered a baby form of the nihility devouring flame from a certain point of view. Its might was far from what the ordinary seed flame in the hands of the chief of the Hall of Souls could compare with. Although such a seed flame was relatively powerful, if the mother of the flame was damaged, the many seed flames connected to it would automatically disappear and turn into essence energy that would gather in the main body. Such a matter was considered a secret. Even Yarrow Larrow and Xiao Yang had never heard of this information. Hence, they were only able to identify the heavenly flame in Hun Huzi's hands as a seed flame. They could not identify that it was the boss of the seed flames, the earth seed flame, but even if they had recognized it, Xiao Yang's expression would not pale. The purifying demonic lotus flame within his body had mutated after merging with so many heavenly flames. Forget about this nihility devouring flame only being a seed flame. Even if the true nihility devouring flame were to descend, Xiao Yang might not even fear it. Whether you can swallow our heavenly flames will depend on your ability. Elder Wanhua coldly snorted. He immediately waved his sleeve. A faint black wind suddenly whistled out of it. The wild wind swiftly moved through the air. If one were to look carefully, one would discover that it was not a fierce wind, rather it was a mysterious flame. 9 Serene Wind Flame. Xiao Yang was a little surprised as he glanced at the wild wind flame that had been summoned by Elder Wanhua. It was not the first time he had seen this 9 Serene Wind Flame. When he had met Yarrow Xingji back then, Yarrow Xingji had been carrying this heavenly flame, but from the looks of it, it seemed that this heavenly flame had been taken back. Ha, old man Wanhua, you are becoming more proficient in your usage of this 9 Serene Wind Flame. Old man Shen Nong laughed out loud after seeing Elder Wanhua summoned the heavenly flame. The medicine grass walking stick in his hand gently pressed down on empty space. He laughed. In that case, this elderly self will also have to perform. After uttering these words, the medicinal ingredient walking stick in his hand self-ignited without the presence of a flame. A liquid-like green flame slowly rose. Finally, it swelled with the wind. Layer after layer of a fog rose from the green liquid-like flame. The countless mysterious medicinal ingredients slowly grew while the fog rose. They emitted a life force, which caused one's expression to change. This is, the heavenly flame ranked 5th on the heavenly flame ranking. Life spirit flame. Surprise flashed across Xiao Yang's eyes as he observed the spreading life force. A strange expression flashed through his eyes. The life spirit flame was ranked 5th on the heavenly flame ranking. This heavenly flame was extremely mysterious because most flames were filled with a destructive force despite their many forms. However, this life spirit flame did not display an overly strong destructive force. Instead, it was filled with a life force. It was rumored that when such a heavenly flame was used, any medicinal ingredient seeds within it would swiftly sprout and grow. In other words, one would not need to worry about searching for medicinal ingredients with such a heavenly flame. As long as one possessed sufficient seeds, one would be able to obtain the medicinal ingredients one needed. Thus, this flame was extremely mysterious. Moreover, this life spirit flame was considered a longevity flame. The person who obtained it would have a lifespan comparable to those magical beasts famous for their long lives, but the only disadvantage was that this flame was not suitable for combat. It did not really increase one's fighting strength. Xiao Yang had also heard about this life spirit flame, but this was the first time he saw it. That rich tempting life force caused one to feel relaxed and full of energy. Hun Hu's eyes stared intently at the life spirit flame in old man Shenlong's hands. A greed flashed across his eyes. Everything in this world possessed a limited lifespan. If one could obtain this flame of life, one would be able to greatly extend one's life. That allure was relatively intense even to someone like him. It is actually the life spirit flame. Old man Shenlong, you are quite lucky. Elder Wanhua's expression was also a little envious as he stated with a smile. When this life spirit flame was formed, its intelligence would be relatively high. Normally, it would not appear in the shape of a flame. Instead, it transforms into various medicinal ingredients. After which, it simply quietly takes root in the soil. At times, it was impossible to identify it even if one were to walk past it. Only those who were extremely lucky would be able to find it in the soil. Ha ha, I was merely lucky and unexpectedly found it while I was searching for medicinal ingredients. Old man Shen Nong fondled his beard and smiled as he replied. Being able to obtain such a heavenly flame was quite a joyous thing for someone like him, who did not like to compete with others. I heard that young friend Xiao Yang has subdued the rumored purifying demonic lotus flame. I wonder if this is true. The eyes of old man Shen Nong suddenly landed on Xiao Yang as he laughed. Xiao Yang was looking at the green sea of fire above his head with a strange expression from a short distance away. Ha ha, I am merely just lucky like elder. Xiao Yang smiled. A fire glow rose on his shoulder. Little Yi appeared in a flash. Immediately, his eyes revealed an expression of disdain as he glanced at the other 3 clusters of heavenly flames in the sky. The only one that could appear in such a form was Little Yi. This is heavenly flame spirit. The few people in the sky revealed a slightly different expression upon seeing Little Yi on Xiao Yang's shoulder. Their eyes became a little grave. They could sense an intelligence that was not inferior to that of humans from Little Yi. Being existences that stood at the peak of the alchemist world, they naturally understood just what a heavenly flame spirit represented to an alchemist. The legendary heavenly flame constitution would allow the heavenly flame in the spirit's hand to reach a near-perfect extent. That level was something that even people like them, whose spiritual strength had reached the perfect heavenly state, could not compare with. Although the heavenly flames in their hands were quite strong, they had still yet to reach the extent of forming a heavenly flame spirit. My Hun clan has targeted the purifying demonic lotus flame for so many years, but it has unexpectedly ended up landing in your hands, but it doesn't matter. These things will sooner or later end up being taken back by us. Hun Hu's eyes flickered while a chill surged within them. Young friend Xiao Yang is really blessed. Back then, this elderly self once tried to subdue the purifying demonic lotus flame. However, I was nearly killed within the demonic flame realm. Old man Shen Nong fondled his beard and laughed. Xiao Yang smiled. After having experienced the demonic flame realm, he naturally understood just how difficult it was to subdue the purifying demonic lotus flame. If he had not possessed a remnant of the purifying demonic lotus saint's soul, it was likely that he could only flee far away. Although old man Shen Nong was an outstanding alchemist, one could not rely on alchemy when trying to subdue the purifying demonic lotus flame. If the 4 of you have prepared, please open your cauldrons and refine your pills. Yarrow Dan in the leader's seat withdrew his envious gaze from Little Yi as he spoke in a clear voice. Xiao Yang faintly laughed after hearing command. Little Yi on his shoulder widened its mouth. A thumb-sized pink fire cauldron flew out. It swelled with the wind and turned into a 1,000-foot-large fire cauldron that floated in the sky. Many fire dragons lingered around the fire cauldron. A low and deep dragon roar echoed from it, and in an instant, the temperature of the stadium swiftly rose. The other 3 individuals withdrew some distance away while Xiao Yang's fire cauldron expanded. They separated this wide sky into 4 areas. Hun Hu's body flashed and appeared above the black fire cauldron. After which, he sat down. With a wave of his sleeve, tons of medicinal ingredients flew out in all directions. In an instant, a rich medicinal fragrance immediately spread through the sky. While he began to refine a medicinal pill, Elder Wanhua in the distance had used the 9 serene wind flame to form a fire cauldron. At their level, they could do without medicinal cauldrons because they could randomly use their heavenly flames to form high-quality medicinal cauldrons. The person who had created the biggest commotion was old man Shenlong. The liquid-like green flame sea swiftly spread before he sat down within the sea of fire. He waved his sleeve and many medicinal ingredient seeds containing a strange fragrance swiftly scattered. Finally, they fell into the sea of fire. After which, the seeds swiftly sprouted in front of many stunned eyes. After which, they rapidly grew within the fiercely burning flame. Old man Shenlong smiled as he looked at the rapidly growing medicinal ingredients. He flicked his finger and ripples formed in the sea of flames. They swiftly agglomerated into droplets of a pure green liquid. It was vaguely possible to see traces of fire seedlings rising from the liquid. A rich life force seeped out it. The green liquid stopped above many medicinal ingredients. After which, a drop quietly dripped down after this fire liquid entered these medicinal ingredients. The medicinal ingredients appeared to have consumed a catalyst. Their rate of growth soared. Within a dozen minutes, the many seeds turned into various rare medicinal ingredients before they grew some more. They moved joyously within the green sea of flames. It is indeed worthy of being the life spirit flame. Xiao Yang in the distance involuntarily praised after seeing this mysterious scene. Other than possessing a weak combat ability, this life spirit flame was really the heavenly flame that was the dream of all alchemists. It would truly be a divine object in the hands of the Pill Tower or the Yarrow clan. Although Xiao Yang understood that spurring the growth of the medicinal ingredients would greatly exhaust the user, many of these medicinal ingredients required at least 100 years to grow. This exhaustion was not worth mentioning compared to such a long period of time. Xiao Yang withdrew his attention after praising the flame. He looked at his huge pink cauldron, and with a wave of his hand, densely packed medicinal ingredients flew out of his storage ring. Finally, they stopped around the fire cauldron. The number of various medicinal ingredients were terrifying, causing many alchemists to feel somewhat speechless. Compared to the way these 4 individuals refined pills, the pill refinements earlier, including the 9-colored pill lightning Yarrow Tian had attracted, felt small and insignificant. Go! Xiao Yang's shoulder shook after summoning the medicinal ingredients. Little Yi flew out and entered the fire cauldron. Then, a crack was formed in the fire cauldron. A suction force surged and swallowed the thousands of medicinal ingredients floating in the sky. After which, a flame suddenly grew within the fire cauldron. He actually wishes to refine so many medicinal ingredients together. Even the faces of those elders from the Yarrow clan involuntarily twitched upon seeing these ingredients fly into the cauldron. The required composition of the thousands of medicinal ingredients that needed to be refined were all different. Could it really be possible to simply throw them all into the fire cauldron together? Yarrow Larrow in a VIP seat merely grinned as he watched Xiao Yang. He had a relatively confident in Xiao Yang since Xiao Yang's skills as an alchemist had long since surpassed his teacher. Just how on earth did this fellow train? He is about our age, yet this fellow possesses the qualification to compete with Elder Wanhua, Ua. Many of the members from the younger generation from the Yarrow clan below the stage had clustered together, but the extremely proud youths from the Yarrow clan were currently suffering a great blow as they looked at the sky. Even Yarrow Tian, who had obtained the best result during the earlier part of the medicine ceremony, displayed a gloomy expression. Although he was very dissatisfaction in his heart, the enormous gap between Xiao Yang and him could not be ignored. Besides Yarrow Tian, the icy-cold Yarrow Ling, who had been doted by everyone, was also watching the calm young figure in the sky with pretty eyes. This was the first time in so many years that she had seen someone similar to her age compete in terms of pill refinement with the elders of the alchemist world like Elder Wanhua. Such an achievement was something that caused even a blessed genius like her in the Yarrow clan to involuntarily feel an admiration within her heart. Yarrow Xingji, he did not appear this strong when we met him in the Jiyu clan, back then, did he? Yarrow Ling turned her head to look at one of her suitors beside her. At that spot was another person from the Yarrow clan, the one who had given Xiao Yang the invitation to the medicinal ceremony, Yarrow Xingji. At that time he was merely an ordinary Dozun. Although his spiritual strength was powerful, it had not reached such a frightening level. Unexpectedly, he has already reached such a level within a short few years. Yarrow Xingji bitterly laughed. There was an unknown feeling in his voice. When he had met Xiao Yang back then, Xiao Yang boasted a similar strength. If the both of them were to engage in an alchemist match at that time, it would have been difficult to predict the victor. However, who could have imagined that there would be so a vast gap between the two of them when they next met? His spiritual strength already belongs to the same level as Elder Wanhua. Perfect heavenly state. Yarrow Ling's pretty eyes looked at the figure in the sky. An unusual glint flickered in them. Her soul was different from an ordinary person since she had been born. The clan head had once said that if she was sufficiently lucky, she might even be able to step into that legendary DI state soul. She had always been proud of her spiritual strength. Even her extremely talented older brother was weaker than her in terms of spiritual strength. Xiao Yang was the only person in the same generation to surpass her in terms of spiritual strength. The thousands of medicinal ingredients in the sky were all swallowed by the fire cauldron before Xiao Yang sat down. Being in possession of the heavenly flame spirit, his control while refining pills was a lot more relaxing than the others. With Little Yi helping to perfectly control his heavenly flame, refining medicinal ingredients was a simple and ordinary task. A fierce pink flame wrapped around the fire cauldron like a huge fireball. Every couple of minutes, many small fireballs would rush out of the fire cauldron. Finally, they would rotate around the fire cauldron. These fire clusters were encasing different medicinal liquids and powders. All of them were necessary medicinal ingredients refined until they were very pure. The 3 others in the sky were also refining a large number of medicinal ingredients while the number of fire clusters floating around Xiao Yang's fire cauldron was increasing. Although they did not possess a heavenly flame spirit and were unable to catch up to Xiao Yang when it came to the effectiveness of their refinement, they were still gurus. Refining medicinal ingredients was a basic task. It was clearly not a problem to them. Many alchemists in the stadium watched the extremely smooth medicinal refinement methods in the sky. Their faces were completely immersed while a wild heat glowed in their eyes. This medicinal ingredient refinement continued for around a day before Xiao Yang finally took the lead to open his eyes. He looked at the densely packed fire clusters floating around the fire cauldron before he let out a deep breath and gently waved his hand. Many fire clusters rushed back into the fire cauldron. Soon after, a shocking energy fluctuation wildly spread from the medicinal cauldron. Even the fire cauldron had shook until it emitted a buzzing sound. Soon after Xiao Yang had completely refined the medicinal ingredients, Hun Huzi opened both of his eyes. He threw the many medicinal liquids that he had refined into his fire cauldron. After which, his hand seal changed. A loud cry sounded, "The world's strength, listen to my order." After Hun Huzi's cry sounded, a wild wind suddenly swept through the sky. An endless naturally energy gathered around the fire cauldron from all directions. Finally, it was devoured by the suction force being emitted. This terrifying devouring made the energy form a mottled energy storm, which crazily howled in the sky before it was completely devoured by the fire cauldron. This terrifying pill refinement aura caused many people to quietly swallow a mouthful of saliva. They had not heard that they needed to absorb natural energy when refining pills because extra energy would at times break the equilibrium of the medicinal properties, resulting in failure. However, this thinking clearly belonged to an ordinary person. The Yarrow clan elders and some alchemist gurus revealed shock on their faces at this moment. Even Yarrow Dan in the leader's seat showed an extremely grave expression. Gathering natural energy to refine pills, this method, he is actually planning to refine a Tier 9 mysterious pill. The activity caused by Hun Huzi was detected by Xiao Yang and the other two. Elder Wanhua knit his eyebrows. He let out a cold snort and changed his hand seal. A stern cry also sounded, "Natural energy, gather." Many members of the Yarrow clan were excited to hear Elder Wanhua's cry. He was also planning to refine a Tier 9 mysterious pill. "Ha, since the both of you have acted in such a grand fashion, this elderly self must naturally not fall behind." Elder Shenong laughed upon seeing the energy gather. He waved his sleeve and the surrounding natural energy once again became chaotic. Waves of majestic energy were dragged into the fire cauldron in front of him. "Since the three of you are in such a mood, Xiao Yang can only join all of you." Xiao Yang faintly smiled as he watched the natural energy get dragged around in a chaotic fashion. The seal formed by his hands changed. A frightening suction force was emitted from his fire cauldron that forcefully dragged energy in, fearlessly snatching natural energy. The many alchemists present watched as waves of thunder roared and energy storms erupted in the sky. Their hearts were startled. The four of them were actually refining legendary Tier 9 mysterious pills. Such a scene was indeed an extremely rare occurrence. This video will end here.